want to give us an overview of this, Stu?
Yes, I'd be happy to. It is a couple of things. When we last left the discussion, I think that one of the things that you just asked us to do was to put the proposed uses that we had proposed, modified by the several workshop discussions that we had, into a like a use in bulk table, similar to what's in the code now, so you can just see it in one place. It really isn't quite in the form of a local law, but it does give you, I think, a clearer picture of the various uses that we've been discussing as possible expansion of the uses currently permitted in the OB8 zone. Now, the first part of the memo, however, is a little broader discussion that I thought maybe could help to facilitate trying to get to a point where we've got something that we agree on and how you want to go forward. One of the things that we talked about early on was the fact that when we did our original study, we talked about some of the village objectives that we sort of pulled from other historical documents, the zoning code, and so on. And one of the reasons that we even have a zoning code and we have a master plan or two master plans is that we are able, the community is able to put into one place some expression of what your objectives are, what your goals are. And it's usually, it's going to be a reflection of what your thoughts are, what the community's thoughts are, but it's a reflection of where you want to head with this. Now, the reason I'm making this point is that one of the things that I think we need to be talking about is we had these discussions of these various uses because you started with the notion that we had this area of the village with the hospital being phased out, and you wanted to look at the zoning there, and we looked at it, and we came back and said we felt that maybe there needed to be more flexibility and more opportunities to try to find uses that would be appropriate in this area, so that not just the hospital itself could be reused, or the hospital property, but the few remaining vacant pieces in that OB8 zone could be used, and that they would be used in a way that reflected the village's goals and objectives, and in a way that would be complementary to the uses that were already there. So if you recall, we had some discussion about the various zones that are in the southern end of the village, where the industrial area is and the economic development area is. We talked about the importance of trying to maintain the integrity of the downtown and not to pull away from it if we could do that. We talked about trying to find uses that would be broader than what's in the OB8 zone now, because it was put in there for a very specific purpose years ago, and we have uses in there that are senior housing, the lawn, the nursing facility, the rehab facility. There are a lot of sort of medically oriented things and some senior residential activities, and what kinds of uses, and what we've been struggling with is what kinds of uses are appropriate there. So we came up with this list of uses modified over time, and then I think in our last discussion there was some expression of concern that, maybe we really aren't quite sure what we want there. Why don't we just leave the zoning the way it is and see if somebody comes forth and makes a proposal for use of property in that zone. So we had all those things we have all those things on the table, and it seemed to us that last position, and that's what I'm trying to sort of open up for some discussion, see if we can move this, because I mean, you have to make this decision, and it's my opinion as a planning consultant that just leaving it open like that, someone who was interested in property there or anywhere in the village really doesn't really have a sense of what the village wants to accomplish or achieve. And in this case, we're not doing a village-wide plan, we're doing a plan and a zoning for a particular area. So, it's my opinion that that position of just leaving it and knowing that it's quite restrictive and not very flexible may not be attractive, because developers or property owners really will not have any sense of certainty as to what the village wants to try to accomplish. So, I know there's been some discussion about maybe taking a little different approach to this, possibly having something more like a planned development zone. But if you did that, which is not necessarily a bad idea, I think you need to be very careful and cautious about what kind of guidelines you would set. You would have to really express your goals, express guidelines, and I don't know if you would. It would accomplish some things. It would put the village zoning, if you added that either to the list of uses already permitted there, and say on a parcel of a certain size, you could have mixed use, planned development with certain uses in it, but I think you want to be careful about precluding some things that you might not want to happen there. You've already expressed it, I think, in terms of the amount of retail use, or maybe just allowing residential development per se. It may not be the kind of thing you want to accomplish. You may be, we talked about housing related to a school or a training facility, or the hospital, or a hospital itself. So that was what I thought we maybe would want to discuss a little bit more tonight. The one thing we do know, I think we agree that we leave the zoning the way it is and leave the hospital as a permitted use. That was fine, because that may be one of the things. But the hospital property itself apparently is precluded from hospital use by restriction, deed restriction, or some restriction that came out of the whole Orange Regional Medical Center agreement. So the property theoretically can't be used for a hospital. Maybe not just theoretically, maybe in fact. But it doesn't necessarily preclude a lot of other things that are medically related, or the things we talked about, diagnostic facilities, training facilities. There could be a lot of things that could happen there. And we don't know. Somebody might come forth. The building has, I think, from what we've learned, has a lot of restrictions in terms of its condition, in terms of how it can be reused. When we did our study originally, we talked to some people who have been in the business of reusing hospitals and hospital buildings, and there are things that it can be used for. But I guess we've been at this for a while, and the fact is that we're getting closer to the time when this becomes more urgent. So I thought if we can continue the course of trying to come up with the uses that we think are appropriate. We could take the course that some have suggested and just leaving it and see what happens, or we could maybe add another dimension to this, and that's some kind of broader use, or broader kind of zoning. And that's what this two-page thing is really all about. It reiterates the goals that we talked about in our original plan, the original report that we did, and it says that, if we came up with something that just assured that there were no negative impacts, that all these goals that you want to accomplish are accomplished, it may be possible to do that. But I think the one thing that, frankly, I would advise against is doing nothing.